everyone, and welcome to CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Asha Saxena, founder and CEO of Women Leaders in Data and AI. We call it WLDA here. We are partnering here with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers series of interviews. I have a pleasure to talking to Meghan Anzelc. Really excited to have you here.
Thanks so much, Asha. I'm really glad to be here too.
I'm particularly interested in two sectors. I've worked in healthcare and I've worked in education, and I'm just so excited about what could be possible. Healthcare hasn't changed for a century, I would say. The practices of how services are provided to the patient, the possibility of personalized healthcare, which can really be enhanced by having an artificial intelligence or machine model that can understand the need of a patient. Some of the examples which I've seen and I'm fascinated by is the mental health use cases. I was at Harvard Labs where I landed up watching a robot actually interacting with a mental health patient. And it was really funny because they had this little video they were playing where the older lady looks at the robot and just rolls her eyes. And he says, come on, it's time for you to do your physical therapy. And she looks at him and she doesn't want to get up. And she says, you're just a robot, machines. And he replies back to her. He says, so if I'm a robot, you're not going to listen to me? You think I'm a machine and you don't respect me? And he's interacting with her, being funny. And she responds to him. And she smiles at him. And so it was really interesting to see that how we can use artificial intelligence to interact with, at least in this use case was the mental health use case. And I thought that was really great. And then having a companion, that we've heard a lot of softwares which are become your companion when you're depressed or help you, remind you, to take your medication. Another really great example which I heard was the education. Personalized learning tracks. So if a student is learning it and you're not showing interest to what the subject you're learning, it recommends you a different path. So also personalized learning, I think, would be a revolutionary change in education and healthcare. And I think those two sectors are so ready for disruption. And I think there is a hope with, having technologies like these that can be used for good. But the last question I want to talk to you about before we close is the data and IP ownership. I think a lot of people are worried about that. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think it's obviously going to vary by tool and by application. So ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI. So you can take a look at OpenAI's terms of use. They just updated them, I believe, the 1st of March. So they have a new set of terms of use that's since the launch of ChatGPT. And there's a couple of things in there that if I was an organization considering using ChatGPT in my business, I would want to take a look at. So one of them is in the terms of use, if you are not using OpenAI's API, so if you're just using the user-generated prompt information, your data can be used to train the models further, unless you explicitly opt out, and they have an opt-out form on their website. So that's one to consider, because certainly if you are using it for business processes, there's the possibility that you may be using trade secret or proprietary information, or even just potentially very unique use cases that you're doing something that's different than your competitors. And so you may want to be protective of how that information gets used. Another area is around privacy. And so OpenAI is very clear that the user is responsible for ensuring that when they're using any sort of personal information in their interaction with OpenAI's suite of tools, that they are responsible for ensuring that the appropriate privacy and consent policies and processes are in place. And in particular, they have a call out where if you are governed by GDPR or the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, there's actually a form you need to fill out with them before you can make use of their tools. So a concise way of saying this is, if it was me, I would be making sure I was engaging my legal team and my privacy team before I started really looking and actually integrating ChatGPT into my business processes. So in terms of the data ownership, it is still owned by the user, and ChatGPT and OpenAI's terms of use lay out some examples of how that works. So it's less of an intellectual property issue or concern. It's really more around the privacy pieces, and then whether or not you want your data being used to be added to the training data set for the models to improve those models over time. And certainly there's pros and cons there, but just something to call out that people should be taking a look at before they sort of fully launch into integrating this into business process.
This debate about data ownership has been around for a while now. And I think Apple, and it's just simple devices you use, all the terms and conditions are there, and it kind of declares how they're going to use your data. And I know I have friends who would say that I don't want to go on Facebook because I don't want to, post pictures. I want to keep my life private. And they're doing it, and they understand that they want to own their data and they don't want to make their data public. So I think it's very well said that understand what consequences you could have when you're sharing the data, and be more mindful of opting out if you know you're not going to be comfortable with sharing what you're, if you're using an application like ChatGPT, and there are options are available. Just look further into that.
Yep, exactly.
Well, lots of great content, Meghan. I always enjoy talking to you. I know that we can probably go on for hours talking about this topic, a favorite topic of mine, and I'm sure you could probably talk about not just the AI models, but expanded horizon that touches AI. Really enjoyed having this conversation. Thank you so much for joining today. Please visit CDO Magazine.tech for any additional interviews. There are tons of great content on CDO Magazine website, so make sure that you can touch upon that. And if you're interested in learning about women leaders in data and AI, just a great organization with a mission. It's a membership organization with senior leaders. We call them WLDA leaders. And we also have WLDA Nation, which I'm super excited about because it's data and AI for all. Anyone who's interested in data and AI can join WLDA Nation. And you can look at upcoming events on CDO Magazine website as well under partner events. Thank you so much. And you can feel free to connect with Meghan and me on LinkedIn. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.